Dr. Michael Gerson has worked with a diverse range of soldier, athlete, and clinical populations in the field of performance, sport, military, health, and clinical psychology. He is a core faculty member at John Fitzgerald Kennedy University in California, where he teaches sport performance psychology and mindfulness courses. In addition, Dr. Gerson is the Director of Mental Skills at Mission 60, a tribe of performance experts that merge Special Operations Forces veterans with behavioural science practitioners and researchers, blending the work of the practitioner with the academic. With this wide and varied background, Michael Gerson adds his perspectives to support understanding of the mental toughness concept and its application to all walks of life.
My background is, for 50 years, I was in people development, in human resource development. And when I started, when I look back, I cringe at some of the concepts I would play with, that I would introduce to people. They were largely faith-based, or somebody had dreamt them up on, in Britain, we talk about on the back of a cigarette packet. And I can remember one of the most popular leadership models here. I mean, hugely popular. It was just, everybody was practicing it. And I met the originator of it, and he said, "Oh no, there's no evidence for it." I just stood there one day and thought this made sense to me. And to be fair, some of it still makes sense. I mean, we have kind of tested some bits of it out, but I find that people development, there's so much money spent on people development and organizational development, and we're still using half-baked ideas, and we're still using ideas that are 50 or 60 years old. And my response to people when they tell me this or challenge me, I said, well, what were you driving 50 years ago? I think the most popular car in the world was a Ford Popular. What's you driving now? Would you like to go back and drive that car? Well, why are you using that technology, that people technology? And that sort of brings me to another question. You're obviously very interested in the research and the ideas that are contributing to our understanding of mental toughness. Have you any ideas about where you think it's going to go next, where the next breakthroughs are? We'd like to think we're involved in that, but I'd like to hear your views.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of reading of the research, even some of the articles, by Doug, like 2002, kind of in the beginning. Kind of my understanding of the evolution of the 4C model was that there was there's high reliability, high validity. There's some double-blind tests, some solid research, and the development of a questionnaire, the MTQ 48, I think. Based off of that, able to suss out, these four characteristics of mental toughness: control, challenge, commitment, and confidence. And then that was the model, I think, for quite a few years. And then through the research and through trying it on and through, interacting with clients and businesses and whatnot, and getting a better understanding, letting it evolve organically and naturally, and then through science and research that, it's taken place, there's starting to be, it's like a fuller picture now, right? So there's, I'm trying to think of the model that I've seen recently where, there's some connection and tying to or tethering to grit and to resilience and to, and then there's, if you go north, that equals something. If you go or vertical, horizontal, it might be resilience, this plus that equals resilience. So you have the assessment tools, you have the model. I've seen over the years the development of what are the techniques that build the skill that lead to the competencies which lead to mental toughness, and how much do you possess. So I think that the next steps are probably, you know, more technology based training and teaching, online platforms, which I think you guys might have. And then the other thing is, there a lot of the techniques to me so far are cognitively based, and I don't see a whole lot of mindfulness based type of techniques. So I can see maybe bringing some of those types of strategies in, and baking them a little bit more into the model. And then I don't know, maybe the model evolves. Maybe it's 5C model. Maybe courage is in there, or values get baked in or built in. So it's really been, not that I started in 2002 with the 4C model, but I've done enough reading and research where I've kind of think I've seen all these pieces over time being put into place, and it's been really fun and exciting to see the evolution of the 4C model.
Thank you for that. I mean, that's very consistent with the way we see things. So the evolution, I mean, John has been a big player in this. The evolution of the 8-factor version of the 4Cs model has been really important, because it's created a level of granularity in the model that has it's created a kind of lens through which we can look at a lot of things. So you're right, we can look at ideas like grit and mindset and learned optimism, and we can see that they are actually components of something, and very reassuringly they fit into what we do. It's like what we've got seems to overarch all of this. So we're quite pleased about the way it's developed. I don't think we will be doing much more work on trying to develop the model further. I think what we've learned from the first iteration is you have to let what you've got run and wait for the questions and find which questions you can't answer satisfactorily, because that then will inform you where you're going. But I completely agree about development. I think, again, the development side of mental toughness has not moved for 20 or 30 years and is very poorly evidenced. And there is some interesting work that you can do with the concept, because there's a colleague at Queen's University Belfast who's looked at the 8 factors, and he's posited that maybe a particular technique will work if you are a particular type of mentally tough or mentally sensitive individual. Maybe a profile is important in terms of which techniques work. And we're only at the starting point for that sort of work. But if it's going to be valuable, I think that's the direction we've got to go in. I don't know what you say, John.
Real quick, that's one of the things that I've appreciated with, I call you guys the 4C crew, because it seems like the philosophy, and the motto, and the mission behind what you guys are doing is that you create this sense of openness and this sense of wanting to learn and wanting to listen and being inclusive. And, there are a lot of models out there that, for whatever reason, I'm mental toughness. There has nothing to do with resilience. It has nothing to do with hardiness. It has nothing to do with inner orientation, but you guys and gals really look to include some of these concepts that are really out there. Self-efficacy. I pulled it up. Self-efficacy and engagement and resilience and positivity, goals and whatnot. And you're figuring out how do these interconnect and how do they influence each other, and how to nest them together. Like there's a place for all of it. It's just about truly understanding the dynamics and the interaction and the interplay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's certainly something that we try and do as a crew. If I've seen further, it's by standing on the shoulder of giants and so on, right? And certainly you're so right to have picked up the development side of things. This is partly, without getting too, I suppose, boring for people that are not interested in academic structures, but the way that a lot of peer review is designed and the way that academic research is judged, in my view, not necessarily correctly, means that a lot of applied work is difficult to publish in journals that are valued by universities, which I think is a big issue when it comes to applied work across the whole of psychology, not just related to mental toughness. But I'll not get on that soapbox and go down that rant right now. But yeah, there's certainly cases where we need a little bit more, and it's because there is no one size fits all. So I think with the different profiles, so the MTQ Plus can create over 40,000 different profiles because people are vastly different. You know, there are not 16 different types of people in the world. There's even 40,000 is a simplification of the reality, you know. But what's going to work for one person is not going to work for the next. And again, that becomes really challenging in research then. And one of the other things we come across from a development point of view, we rely a lot on practitioners and practitioner feedback because having a foot in both camps, Michael, you'll be well aware of the speed at which academic cogs turn compared to the speed at which the real world turns are vastly different. So in that sense, we get some really fascinating questions that come from practitioners, and we go, right, that's a great idea for some research. I'll tell you the answer in 4 years, because that's the speed at which, by the time you've got ethical approval and funding in place and data collection and then peer review processes and things like that happens. So I'd like to think that from a research point of view, with lots of good stuff to come in those slowly moving cogs. But we're also always looking for practitioners to come back to us with, do you know, here's what I would really like to know, and be guided like that, rather than this sort of, you know, sense that we might sit in an ivory tower as the keepers of the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, I've got my final question to you. You mentioned that the special ops guys could come along with their sexy stories about their experiences. When you talk about mental toughness, what's your sexy story?
Oh man. Let's see. I play college baseball. It was NAI. It was like not Division I, not the elite of college, but I had a full ride scholarship to play some baseball. And I wasn't the most talented. I was undersized till I was like a senior in high school. So I used mental toughness on the daily to really elevate my level of play. And so much so that I was able to, to a lot of people's surprise, get a scholarship, get my college paid for, and apply a lot of these mental performance tactics to my everyday play. And as a result, I was an All-American. I broke a ton of records at the college level, team level. And just played some, phenomenal baseball my junior and senior year, but also got to travel to other countries as well, Japan and Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, played baseball for the Slovak national team, coached the Slovak national team, played in Budapest. But I can attribute that elevation of my performance to mental skills. Meditating every day for me, that was a thing. The positive self-talk, the thought-stopping skills, the imagery, the setting the goals. I used it all, and I was really able to, push myself through what I was practicing to get to a level and type of play that I didn't even know was possible. And like I said, it wasn't the major leagues, but I played in a very competitive league, and I was one of the top players in that, competitive league. So for me, the mastery was really important. How do I master myself? How do I get out of my own way to be able to, play the best possible baseball I can consistently every single day, rain or shine? 5 fans or a couple hundred fans, Monday or Sunday, doubleheader or just one game, girlfriend in the stand or no girlfriend in the stands, parents in the stand, no parents in the stand. It didn't matter, the environment that I was in. It was my own internal environment that I was able to create and sustain and push me to new heights.
Brilliant. I can hear the passion in your voice. It's brilliant.
No, I miss some days.
Hey, traveling the world, playing and coaching baseball, that'll pass as a sexy story.
Michael, it's been great speaking with you. It's fantastic, and I think your sexy story at the end is really summing it up. It's you talk about living the mental toughness story. It is about taking who you are and optimizing who you are. And it isn't necessarily about being a gold medalist. It's about being successful. And we talk about thriving. We don't talk about happiness. We talk about contentment. The idea that you could do more, you could achieve more, but you're achieving as much as you can, and you're on that journey through life. And who knows, you might achieve a bit more tomorrow. It's a great illustration, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for having me. It's been fun, and hopefully we can continue this relationship. And if you need, you have those questions when it comes to people in the field using the 4C model. Like I said, I've been using it with my campers, my interns, my students at the graduate level for 4 years, and we've been finding out just a lot of different ways to be able to try to develop the 4Cs so that people have more control over, the external.
Fantastic.